Hello and welcome. I'm Bonnie Libhart and you're watching Vision Plus. If you know of someone who's just wondering, is there any possibility that I could work, be married, go to school, get my college, and just put it all together, get them on the phone and tell them to watch the program, because you're going to have an opportunity to watch someone and to learn some insights of someone who has done just that. He is a person that I call him pulling himself up with his own bootstraps, and he's now working just months away from an MBA, and his name is Urcil Peters. Welcome, Urcil Peters.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Urcil has done a lot of things. You were born in Antigua?
Yes, I was born in Antigua, West Indies, and my family moved to London about a year or two after I was born, and I grew up in the streets of London and had a wonderful childhood there. Learned many things and met a lot of good people.
Then,
when I was 9, in the summer of 1968, my parents again moved to New York. We moved to...
Immigrated, actually.
Immigrated to New York, and we settled there. And I call it really a settlement because it was so new for us to see so many people in one area. I mean, when we grew up in London, we had a house, our next door neighbor, and the house a couple steps down the way, and maybe there were 20 families. On our apartment building, there were like 50 families on the whole street. In New York, there were hundreds of people. So it was a very new step for us. And moving in 1968 with a lot of the changes that were taking place in America at the time, it was a very big experience for us to move there.
Now, you were eventually active with Teen Challenge, and I want to know how that came about. I know Ralph, a lot of people here know Ralph Wilkerson and his founding Teen Challenge, so tell me how that came about. Why?
How that came about was that when we came to the United States, and I had been very active in sports in London, and I came to the United States and I didn't make friends right away. And as being 9, I got into school, and I couldn't play all of the regular American sports because I knew soccer only. Couldn't play baseball, football, basketball. These are all things that my body was not accustomed to play, and I wasn't picked for the team. Plus, as kids being as they are, my name was different. Some kids made fun of my name. So I started to grow up more very shy and keeping to myself. And as I got a little older and I graduated junior high school and I went to high school, in fact, being able to skip a grade because I had done so well in school, I wanted to get involved with people. I wanted to know more about the social life that I had felt I missed. And I got involved with a sports team, and on that team was the coach, and she invited me to come to a meeting in the high school, and at that meeting it was a Teen Challenge meeting. It was a club that they were putting together, and my first experience was, well, this is wonderful. There were only like 7 other students, but it was great because my first real connection with other people and wanted to be a part of their lives.
What was Teen Challenge? What is Teen Challenge?
Teen Challenge was a group that help young people develop their values and also to work with each other, to help encourage each other to do well in school and to really stay off drugs and stay within an environment that was positive. And that's how I took it. In fact, after the first 2 meetings, they elected me as leader of the club. Now, having gone from someone who was basically shy to now be a leader of a group where I thought that was tremendous.
Last week I couldn't even spell engineer,
yes.
Now I are one.
Yeah, exactly. And so here I am, being a leader of this club for 2 years throughout the rest of my high school attendance, and it was one of the best experiences I've had in my life, to be a leader and to have that positive impact on my fellow students was really good.
Well, what did you do as a leader? What were some of the things you did?
Some of the things I did, actually started out with, it was a blank slate. I was elected in a sweep of like 7-0 vote. And what I did was really start paying attention to what was it that this club needed. We needed to build members, we needed to get our message out, and we needed to really, number 3, to let people know that we were ordinary students taking an active interest in our lives. So we started with a publicity campaign. We had a table of literature about who we were. We also had meetings more often, twice a week, as membership drives. We showed films, had students come in.
You helped organize?
I helped organize that,
Wow.
helped develop the program, and I did a lot of the speaking in that for those year and a half that I
Now,
was
where
a
would
leader.
you speak, and what kinds of things did you say?
I spoke in the classroom after school and would talk about what affects our lives as young people. Here I was all of 16 and 17 and wrapped up in some wisdom, and would talk about, you know, where would we go with our lives and what we wanted to do and how we needed to channel our energies into positive activities. And that was really the theme of my talk.
And you actually did some sermons, and what were those and where?
I did some sermons along with that when, at the time, I attended a church, and I did a first sermon there. Basically, I'm trying to recall what it was, but it was a really...
It was a Christian center.
Yes, and the Christian center was a great experience. But it was really being able to stand up in front of people and talk about what I knew and understood and how that could be of benefit to them. And for a young person, that was a triumph, because I hid behind my shyness, and here I was coming out and actually talking in front of people, and it was really a powerful experience.
How did you do? Did you actually write out your sermons?
I would actually go through and think in my mind, try to create a theme, and then go through and look at what I wanted to say, write it out, think about the points that I wanted to bring across, and then I would deliver it. And the delivery was where I felt that I had an extra ounce of energy, because it wasn't just, well, reading what was going on, it was actually being able to present it like a living text in a way, and I was like that living text. I could give you that statement with a lot of power, and that's what I recall.
Now, that was founded by Ralph Wilkerson.
Yes.
Thank you. You said you one time saw us cross.
Yes, I saw the film. In fact, that's one of the vehicles we used to draw students to our auditorium back then. I showed Crossing the Switchblade, and it was attended by several hundred students. It was a large school in New York. I mean, we had 1,000+ students, and so several hundred attended and watched. And from that, many of them came to our regular meetings. And by the time I graduated, we were a club of probably over 100 people. Where we started out from 7 2 years before. Yeah.
Well, and I understand from things I've read that people would actually give their life to the Lord at some of those meetings too.
Yes, they would, and that was a great thing to watch and to see as people did that, and it really changed and helped to change their lives and give them focus and then direction.
Were these some of these people that had been experimenting or were on drugs or drinking or into things they shouldn't have been into?
I think that was some of that going on, and it was, you know, my desire to help them bring a positive path for their lives.
Right. Well, why did Ralph Wilkerson ever develop that or put that together?
I think from having, I haven't met him personally, but watching the film and looking at some of his books, it was really to bring young people into a path that was going to be beneficial for them rather than a self-destructive path. Because as you're young, you have a lot of energy, a lot of feeling that you want to do things and get things done, and you don't have time to look at how to do it well. You just want to get it done. But here I wanted to bring an approach that there are things that could happen to your life that you could be self-destructive, drugs, etc., that could really be detrimental, and here to bring a positive message that it didn't have to be the source of your life. Other things could be.
How about your own siblings, your own brothers and sisters? How did they view what was happening to their brother Urcil Peters?
Oh, at the time, that was 15 years ago now. My sister was in a different school. My parents were very proud of my accomplishments and being involved in that. My siblings were also proud of the fact that they couldn't believe it. Here I was, a shy person, you know, several years before, and now suddenly I was a leader of people, and I was speaking in public, and I was actually getting a message out that was positive.
And some of that, you actually became the coach for the debate team?
Yes, and when just speeding up to now my attendance at pace for my MBA in recent years. I attended in the evening, and to do that, juggling a work schedule. I have a small family, 2 children, and so my wife and I are just starting out. It was a lot of work, but I wanted to, from my memories of the incredible experience I had in high school, I wanted to be able to give something, even of the limited time that I knew I had, wanted to give something to PACE. So I became coach of the debate team, and I helped them go to the national finals. We didn't win, but it was a wonderful experience for them, and it was something that I will remember. I don't coach them now, but it's certainly one of the chapters in my experience at PACE that I'm very happy with.
You are a member of Speakers USA.
Yes.
You're growing in a lot of areas. How did you go from this high school to now going to college, and then bring me through those years? Did you have, your parents have the money? They supported you. Did they have the money to send you to college?
What happened in college, I worked my way through college initially. I had first attended Oral Roberts University for a semester, and then I came...
That's in Tulsa?
Yes, that's in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Well,
and
before we jump over
yes.
that, tell me a little bit about that experience.
Within that experience, I had attended Oral Roberts on a writing scholarship.
Of writing? You
yes,
mean like
as
writing?
Journalism, and I attended for about...
Did you have to enter like a contest or something, or how did you get a journalism or a writing?
I think I was editor of a school paper in high school, and I sent them some copies of articles that I had done at the time, and they were very happy with that, and they offered me a partial scholarship, to do the writing. The rest of it, through my parents and myself, contributed to going to the school. I needed to come back to New York after a semester, and I switched schools, and at that time I started to work part-time to work my way through school, and it was very difficult towards the end, because I had to get more classes and more things going, but I stayed through it, I persevered through it. I had a plan, and I knew that I wanted to graduate with as much honors as I could, and so I stayed with the program.
What are some of the things you had to work at to get your college degree?
I had to work at, initially getting into college wasn't very easy. I didn't do very well on a standardized test. In fact, that came back to bother me when I tried to get into graduate school. But I persevered. I wanted to go to school. And
what do you mean you didn't do very well? Give me an example.
Well, for test scores, I think on the SAT I was less than 1,000. And
what should it have been?
It should have been, I think, at the time, at least 1,200 or 14, whatever the standards were. I'm trying to remember back then. But it wasn't, I think I did maybe 800.
You had to do it over again.
Well, I couldn't do that test over again, but it stopped me from getting into some other schools that I had wanted to attend. And at the time, I was really saddened by, well, what happened? I didn't think my brain had stopped functioning, but it was one of the standardized tests, not something that I do well on. But I wanted to do well in school, and I knew I could, and I tried. And I started off with Oral Roberts University. I did okay there. I came back to New York, and I did well in college. And so it showed me that the test didn't reflect all of my abilities. What really reflected my abilities was my motivation, and I wanted to go through the books, and I stayed with the courses. I didn't need remedial work, but it was that test just really, I couldn't master it for some reason, but I came back and I did master school. And then when I came into graduate school... Wait,
we're not going to leave that yet. Just a minute.
Go back.
What kinds of work did you have to do? You said you worked and went to school. What are some of the jobs you've had?
I was a dishwasher for a restaurant in Lower Manhattan for about 12 weeks. I worked as a cashier in a department store for about a year. I worked as a copy boy on the news desk at the Associated Press for about a year. Those were basically the 3 jobs that I had. But they weren't glamorous jobs, but they were jobs that paid through school, and I learned a great deal about myself and what I could accomplish from doing those jobs. and it was very. I look back at them now and say, yeah, I can wash dishes. I mean, I can
know
do
what
those
Barbara
things.
does, your wife. She says, okay,
Yeah,
you
with the
have
dish-
that experience. That's on your
exactly,
resume. You
right.
go in there and help me.
Hey, I'm the great dishwasher, through Suds and Soap, you can call me. But it was a pleasant experience looking back on it, because I was able to say, I will do anything to maintain myself in school. I will work extra hours, and I will go to these places that other people may be unwilling to go. And that's just to say that there is no place when you really set your goal that you should be unwilling to go to, because in the end the result will be what you want. And I have had the result that I wanted from it.
To give up short-term pleasures for those long-term goal visions.
Discipline is a key aspect if you want to master your abilities and get into your goals and accomplish what you set out to accomplish in your mind. And I truly learned that. Can we skip to graduate school?
Now we can go to graduate. Yeah, okay.
So
I will say that you were featured in the promotional tape that Pace University puts out, and you didn't know that was going to happen until they asked you, did you?
That's correct.
And they have this little 8-minute or 10, 12, whatever it is, and there you are. 3 or 4 times they're coming back to you.
Yes.
I thought that was really exciting for you and for everyone that sees
Well, it wasn't really, because when I got into Pace finally and I started going to school.
Now you can tell me how difficult it was to get into Pace. All right, go through that part. How was it?
For me, it was
breeze?
No, for me it was very difficult taking the required exam to get in another test, another standardized test that I knew I wouldn't do well at, and I didn't.
Well, of course you wouldn't. You know what Henry Ford says, if you say you can't do it, you know you can't. If you can do it, you can. And you kept thinking, I can't do this.
Yes, these tests are going to be very hard for me. And so I started,
Don't you know you're supposed to say that faith is things, substance things hoped for, the evidence things not seen?
At the time that I took this, I was very much unencouraged. I wanted to go to graduate school, I wanted to get my business degree, but this test was like holding me back. And it took 5 years to end up in graduate school. I took the test, I applied, I was rejected. I applied again, I was rejected. And I said, okay, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to apply to these schools here in New York, and I'm going to call them, I want to get in, how do I get in? So I called Pace and I said, I want to get into school. Here's my test results. I don't think I'm going to do much better on the next go around. And they said to me, well, how much work experience have you had? By now, I've had several years of work experience. And they said, send the results in, send your recommendations in, and we'll look at it, and said, I don't think you'll have a problem getting in. And I said, really? And I didn't have a problem getting in. I was accepted, I think primarily on the basis of my background and my strong work experience that I had had up to that point. And then as I was
You didn't say, you're sure you don't want me. I'm sure you don't want me, right?
At that point, I would say, yes, take me. I want to go. But when I took the class, one of my first classes in economics, and the associate dean was in that class, at the end of my first semester, he said to me, could I interest you in coming down for a recruiting video for Pace? And I said, me? Why would I be in a recruiting video for Pace? He said, I think you'd be very good speaker on this video. And I said, sure. What do I need to say? He said, just answer the questions, honestly about how you feel about coming to Pace. About several months, 6 or 8 months later, they started to do the tape, and I was involved in it. And what I felt doing that tape was that they asked me questions, and I said, yeah, I'm proud to come to Pace because the school took a chance on me, I felt, and that I could have done well here. And I enjoy the atmosphere, and I enjoy the faculty, and I'm going to graduate very highly here, and I like having, this was only my first year. And so they did the tape. When I got a copy and I saw myself, maybe there's like 4 minutes of me and 12 minutes of the tape, I was in shock. But apparently they liked it, I guess.
They thought you were an ambassador's son and paid a couple $1 million to be a part of that.
No, and it was all volunteer, and I really have enjoyed being a part of that for the school.
What I really want to know is, what is it inside of you that made you pull your own bootstraps up with the help of the Lord to achieve the goals that you've wanted to do, to go on and get your college degree?
I think
And how can others do that too?
That's a lot of questions.
Right.
Let me start.
All right.
Let me start off with. I think the first one is that for me, looking to the future and what the future would hold was the best source of inspiration for me. Looking from, I mean, when we moved to New York and we lived in an apartment, and my family wanted to grow and develop. My mother wanted to get a house for us, and she saved for years to do that. So I think from their example of having set a goal and wanted to, they have a house now. We've had a big house in the Bronx. From their example of setting a goal that they wanted to do, I started to say, well, I want to accomplish things. I want to go out and I want to begin to be a person who can get a college degree and go through school, and because I felt my intelligence needed to be challenged, and I felt that I wanted to do things with my education, and I wanted to go far, and I didn't want to stay in the square block that we had been. The circumstances wouldn't limit me. I wanted to go beyond my circumstances. I wanted to achieve that. So I think, but also inside, I have a lot of self-pride, a lot of esteem and confidence in my abilities, because it starts off with, for me, seeing that I am enough to start the race. I don't need to have a pretty face or all the other accoutrements people want to start off with. Well, all the things I didn't have, I start off with what I have was, looking back, was enough. Enough to desire, enough to the goal, enough that I could look at a picture of my life and say, I want it to be better than it was today, and that I'm going out to make that happen. And for others who are looking to do that, looking to accomplish that, is really to start out with, wait a second, to really improve yourself. You'd start off with, you are enough to begin. All the anxiety, I think, that goes around building goals is that sometimes we think, well, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not fast enough. Start out with simply, you are enough to look at your goals and try to build around that your strengths and your limitations, and go with that as your direction and your road, and you will get there. Surely you will get there from that.
Well, it says all things are possible.
Yes.
I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, and I think that is just part of it. when we can achieve what we are supposed to achieve. Yes. I think one of the challenges I've had is looking at other people and thinking, I wish I could be like that person, or I wish I had the money or background, or taller, or not freckles, or whatever, that we think. Or I grew up on a cotton farm in Arkansas, and so I could look at the negative side, but I also can see some wonderful positive sides. My mother went to college, and my dad was a person who encouraged us, so I saw that. And you evidently had that too. What was your dad's vocation?
My father was not a professional vocation. He worked in factories in London, and he had a good job in the United States. He worked at a hospital as a housekeeper, and he accomplished that very well, but his would always go out every day. He was going to work hard, and he was going to try, and he was going to put in a full day's work. And he's now retired, but that, his hard work and desire to work hard certainly, I think, rubbed off on me. To do
and your mom was certainly a motivational source behind you, too.
Yes, she was.
And you can do it, son. I can tell that.
Yes.
What about your siblings, your brothers and sisters? What has happened with them?
My oldest sister is working now in a bank. She had gone on to, she's actually also going to school at night to get her degree.
So she still has that also.
Yes, the desire. And my brother has gone into the electronics field and worked as well, worked part-time and also gone to school. And he's doing very well himself in that. I have another sister who lives in Florida, and she's also in the banking industry and was working very successfully there.
You enunciate beautifully, and you're speaking lots of places. You're doing that, and you want that as one of your long-range goals, including short-range goals.
Yes.
Tangible and intangible.
Definitely one of my long-range goals is to speak more, is to have more speaking engagements, and is to conduct that because I've come to really enjoy being part of that kind of activity where I can contribute my words, my enunciation to people, and there can be some sort of positive impact from them.
So you actually have your own business of management consulting and speaking, and that's going forward with the help of places like Speakers USA.
Yes, it is. And Speakers, actually, if I have time, I have a funny story to tell about Speakers USA. Was that when back in early part of this year, and I called up to get involved in Speakers USA, and they were in Tennessee. Now, I've been a lot of places, but I haven't been to Tennessee. And so it started out...
Or probably not Alabama before.
Or Alabama before, for that matter. But starting out...
Were you scared?
Oh, I was scared. I had a person on the phone. She said, well, so come on down to our convention, our workshop in Gatlinburg. I said, Gatlinburg? What would sound like something from the Civil War? Gatlinburg. Well, so I was a little apprehensive, but I said, let me think about it. And so a couple days before the workshop, I said, I'm going to go down. I've never been. I told my wife, look, I'm going down to Gatlinburg. Here's where I'm going to stay. I'll call you, and I think I'm going to have a good time, but I don't know. I've never met these people before, and I don't know how the South is these days. So I flew down, and I drove from the airport to the convention, and I was a little, well, what am I going to find? Who's going to be there? But I said, you know, I've dealt with all kinds of people, and I'm sure I'll be able to get along with them and, you know, be able to participate in the workshop. So having done that, I arrived, and I had a wonderful 2 days. And towards the end, what I decided to do was to say farewell from the podium. Now, again, it's, you know, it was something that I had not planned to do, and certainly I didn't know what manners were like in the South, but I said, well, okay, I'll be an aggressive New Yorker. I'll go up to the front, and I'll give a short talk and tell them what a wonderful time, how much I've enjoyed their company, and how much they've, you know, I've learned from them about the speaking business. And I did that, and it felt good. And from there, you invited me to come on to your show, which, out of all the things that happened, that was the biggest surprise of all. All I thought would happen was that they thought, oh, gee, he made a little nice speech up there, and that was very good. But the reaction and the response, I've gotten letters from some of the people who were there who thanked me and how proud they were of me that I got up and I spoke and told them what an enjoyable time I had. I thought it was just, well, you know, a basic thing that this happens, but I'm glad to see that it did have a positive impact and that I'm here because of my taking the risk to come down. Oh, by the way, I enjoyed Gatlinburg.
And the Southerners, not really.
They're not so bad.
Ask this New Yorker, Urcil Peters, and thank you very much for coming to be with us.
Thank you.
And we're happy that you joined us also, and you can have a copy of this tape if you'd like to encourage other people to pull themselves up from their own bootstraps and get their MBA if that's their goals in life. I'm Bonnie Libhart along with Urcil Peters, and bless your heart for watching.
Thanksgiving in your heart, your voices raised, your voices raised. Give glory and honor and power unto Him, Jesus, the name above all names. Come into His presence with thanksgiving in your heart and give Him praise.